So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment.
Wait for it.
Gaming?
Wait for it.
Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is... wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wait For It podcast. I am your co-host, Phil Smith, aka Phil the Filipino. And joining me as always is your other co-host, Mr. Eric Almighty. And Eric, we are here with the May edition of the Creator Spotlight and what continues to be, as we say each and every single month, our favorite episode of the month because we get to hang out with some friends, both old and new, and get to talk to them about, what they're passionate about. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what this podcast has always been about. This podcast is a passion of ours, so we can talk about, video games that we're passionate about, movies that we're passionate about, TV shows and movies and video games that we hate passionately. That's what this has been all about here at the Wait For It podcast. And Eric, this month's guest is we're not deviating from the plan that we are just having really, really great creative individuals and a friend that we've gotten to know over the last year or so. And, can't wait to see him again very, very soon at Bold Matsuri, and can't wait to have this conversation with him today.
Yeah, and I think that's what ultimately led us to bringing this guest on, was just the vibes that we got from all of those interactions. At the convention, we're always very busy, we're always up to something, but our guest made it a point to always check in with us, see how we were doing, took great care of us at these conventions with what he does, and in addition to that, is also a fellow podcaster. So, we had to bring him on. We're welcoming in Kory, the World is My Burrito podcast. And Kory, how are you doing? Are you ready to jump into this episode of Creator Spotlight and talk some pop culture?
I am doing very well, and I am very excited to get in on this, especially because you don't have a ton of these. So it's like still getting in on the ground floor. I'm still part of the what will be the original sweepings that, eventually become something that's much more structurally sound. But yeah, no, this is really cool. It's good to be on. It's been a lot of fun. Cause Phil I've known of kind of for a little bit, seeing through the Jax podcast community. Eric, I don't remember if I'd ever actually met you in Jacksonville, but did meet you at Ocala Comic-Con last year, I think.
I think that's where it all started, right?
Yeah.
This is our first bowl together, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So no, it's been a lot of fun. Getting to hang out with you guys and see you at like each convention, because like obviously the first time was great, and then now every time I see you, it's especially on my end, the photography end, which you guys commented as much in reverse, but like having someone you can be confident in is very nice for both professions, because it's like you don't have to be like, Jesus Christ, like, are these guys gonna run like an hour and a half? Yeah. Like, oh yeah, are y'all just gonna like not have any good questions or not interact with people well, or like not be able to control the flow? Because I've been in some very bad panels and people who are very bad with their time, and it's like every minute you waste of my time, I'm missing out on photos of other people. So it is really nice where it's like, I think, the very first panel I saw you do, I was like, all right, cool. We talked about it plenty in advance. But it was like, everything was pretty clockwork, and yeah, no, it's great. And it's been great to hang out with you each time since then.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is going to be more the same. And Phil, obviously there's a lot that we have looking forward to for a Bold Matsuri. But before we kind of jump into that, I'll kind of start off our first question, Kory, because before I think you did photography, you were kind of in that podcasting realm as far as what we may have known about you. Like, I didn't get to meet you, but I had heard about your podcast prior. I don't know how I came across it, but when I put the two together, oh, the guy that we know as a photographer, he also has a podcast. Hey, I know that podcast. Tell our audience a little bit about your podcast, what it's about, and what inspired you to start it and continue it to this day.
So The World is My Burrito. That was the final name, and it started as an idea in like 2019. I'm a big fan of, it's predominantly Japanese stuff. That's just kind of what I grew up in, watching a lot of anime, reading a lot of manga, seeing a lot of Japanese movies, be they live action or animated. As a kid, I was actually really interested in Japanese history and the Japanese language. It was my second language, which I had learned for quite a few years. The fluency is long gone, but I at least still know enough of it. But yeah, I remember talking a bunch with Botter. I'd been on Shortbox a couple of times. And one day we're talking, I want to say it was behind Spliffs in 1949, the little alleyway where they always used to have musical events. And he was like, you should start a podcast. And it hit me, and it's like, I probably should. Like, I spent a shitload of time, reading and researching for no reason. Like, I'll just get, that ADHD hook on something and just not be able to let it go. So kind of the reason why it exists is as a creative outlet. I dive into stuff anyways, so why not have it a little bit more of a focal point? And I can learn a little bit more than maybe what I expected, and hopefully inform other people, because there's so much to be known. I don't know, there's always like whack history behind something, and sometimes I think the question that doesn't get asked is why something exists, and if I can find that out, that's even better.
I can relate to that because Eric will get upset with me because I'll end up on these random YouTube tangents where I'll watch a video of something that I previously did not have any interest in before, mind you. So very recently, what they got upset with me for, and I say they because it's a lot of my friends, I watched like a 30-minute YouTube documentary about what's going on with Akon in Africa, and I was like totally fascinated by it. And then I watched another video about it was some film that I had no intention on seeing. I watch a lot of those where I'm like, well, I'm curious about this movie, but I'm never going to watch it. So let me find a YouTube channel that will explain it essentially scene by scene. And I'd be like, wow, I'm glad I didn't see that movie, but I am glad that I know more about it was Argyle. Even though I've seen Argyle and it was horrible. I watched like a 45-minute like history about Argyle because I wanted to know, how did this terrible movie get made and where does it fall in line with the Kingsman franchise? And I watched that movie, or that YouTube video. So Eric will get mad at me because instead of watching like, I don't know, something in my watch list or my queue, I'll be like, oh, that's an interesting YouTube video. I think I'd like to go down that rabbit hole.
I'm mad at him now. I'm literally fuming at hearing that.
I watched a 30-minute YouTube video the other day about The Walking Dead Season 4. I haven't watched The Walking Dead in years. But I was curious about Season 4.
You actively
and what this person had to
on
say
The
about
Walking
it.
Dead. I just don't get
I do.
it. I don't understand why you would spend the time. We're not going to go there, Phil.
It's
next
interesting.
Question. Next
If you want to
question,
talk
please.
about Akon later, let me
I
know.
don't want to talk about Akon. I was going to let it go. I was going to let it go, but you brought up the fucking terrarium for like the 5th time in the
well,
pre-show.
that's just the thing. That's just the thing. I love watching terrarium
I don't want to
builds.
hear about the terrarium. I don't want to hear about Akon.
Ants Canada on YouTube. Make sure you give him a follow. Filipino content creator, just so you guys know.
So I will add to that real quick. I have watched 3. So specifically the trilogy of 50 Shades of Grey. I have watched 3 YouTube videos. It was one person who was, reviewing each one of them, breaking down the films. I think it was Folding Ideas. But one of the film critics I follow, breaks down each movie, each of those episodes. I want to say those are the ones that are about as long as each movie. And I have also listened to How Did This Get Made podcasts cover each one of those movies. So I have now invested the Lord of the Rings extended editions worth of time into a film franchise and book franchise that I do not give a shit about.
See, I'm telling you, there's something that's just interesting about learning how these movies were made or like what went into them being made. I'm trying to find her name is Amanda the Jedi on YouTube, and she does fantastic film breakdowns. And the one that I watched recently was a film called it was the imaginary friend horror movie. Again, I'm never gonna watch that, but I wanted to know what happened in the movie, so I watched it. It was like a 35-minute video. It was a good time. She's great. We should have her on.
For the record, though, again, this wouldn't be such a problem if Phil didn't then immediately crap on me when I fall into TikTok algorithms. So I'll watch
It's not the same.
I'll watch series through a set of
No,
TikToks.
that's not the same.
I don't understand. That feels biased. I feel targeted.
Watching a TikTok about a show that you've never seen before is not the same about watching the creation of said movie or show.
I watch multiple TikToks. I've seen like an eighth of Ted Lasso.
Nope. I don't want to hear it.
1/8. You got it measured out.
Yeah, three seasons of character development. You've watched TikTok videos. I don't want to hear it. Kory actually brought up a good point talking about how like this is still, as far as creator spotlight, we're still within the first year of this. We need to get people like original 12 pins or t-shirts or something like that, or the first year of creator spotlights. We should get them get something made for them.
that would be interesting.
I'll wear that with pride.
There you go. It'll be like a Pokemon badge. So we need to do that. But Kory, you mentioned like how important it is to be in sync with your con neighbors, like your convention neighbors. And like, again, just from the very get-go, working with you for the first time, we knew like, oh, this is going to be like smooth sailing. And, and it's been that way ever since. And we love working with you. What got you how did you get into the convention game as far as photography? It's a very competitive market. People are vying for these spots, and, the shots that you take are always so great, and you get them out to us so quickly, which is also fantastic. So how did you get into, this circuit when it comes to convention photo taking?
So it actually all started with GAM. I've done a lot of event stuff. Like events were probably where I started with photography when I was like 18. So Eric, you know me as someone who like is a podcaster who does photography. I've had a camera in hand since I was 18. I started doing it professionally and like actually taking people's money in like 2017, 2018, something like that. But I've done tons and tons of events, and then in 2015, 2016, I went to, it was GAM Vengers. Took a bunch of photos, and at that point, DeviantArt was still not crap, and posted photos on DeviantArt. And I don't remember how.
Not a cesspool.
Yeah. I opened up DeviantArt, I don't know, like a year or two ago, and was like, nope. Closed it.
Turn
done.
around, traveler. Turn around.
Oh, man. But yeah, I just like got in contact with Ryan somehow. I actually don't remember what method I used, but I sent him stuff, and he was like, hey, if you want to be a part of the next one, you can. So I photographed the next event as part of GAM, and then every year after that, I was part of the like marketing photography team, one of the event photographers, as well as one of the people who was helping set everything up. So that, like, I had plenty of events to do there. And how I got into this particular scene was, unfortunately, Justin Drain, who's pretty well known in Jacksonville as an event photographer. He had to move up north. He had to leave the state.
Chicago. Yeah, they went to Chicago.
Okay, Illinois.
Just outside of
right.
Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah. I always want to say Idaho, and it's like, I know it's not Idaho.
No, it's not the same.
Yeah. So Illinois, which is a little bit better. But yeah, he moved up there and basically like sent people my way, because while we had never officially worked together, like he would show up to events that I was shooting, like GAM related events, and sometimes I would show up to events that he was shooting. So we always had connection. I always tried to keep in touch with him. And like I moved to the Tampa area almost 3 years ago now, but I've still maintained contact with him. So when he left, he basically just shot everyone my information. So it is one of those where it's like, take tons of photos and, show people what you have. because you never know when someone might have to like leave pretty quickly or, you know, have a career change. Because even in photography, event stuff is fine, but you know, say if I start getting busier with weddings or something, events are going to have to take a back seat. Some of them anyways. But yeah, that's really all it was just taking tons of photos. And I unfortunately did a ton of work for free. But you know, essentially all the free stuff is what helped me improve my craft. And so then, like, when I sent stuff to Ryan, you know, even now I can look back at some of those photos and it's like, I still like these photos, you know, they capture the essence of what I like to capture now.
Yeah, build up that resume, that portfolio. That's always huge. And I assume, obviously, it would be incredibly important for a photographer. It's interesting that, like, you know, Justin sent your stuff the way of Bold and Collective Con and all those conventions. And, like, very similar to Eric, like, we have this opportunity because a friend of ours, you know, Botter, we talk about him all the time. He was just on What Did I Miss a couple months ago, threw Bold Matsuri our way because he knew, you know, anime was a little bit more of our wheelhouse. And, you know, it just shows how important those networking, how important networking is. But also just like, I remember the very first Bold Matsuri we did, I asked Elizabeth Maxwell a question because I saw an interview she did years ago. And she was like, one of the most important things in this business when it comes to voice acting, but I think it applies to all networking, is just don't be a dick. Just be a nice person and make these friendships. And, you know, every convention, Eric, we come away with 5 new friends that we want to have on the podcast, and it's the best. Do you have an event that is like your holy grail, like that you want to shoot? Is it like a let's stick with conventions. Is it like a San Diego Comic-Con, New York City Comic-Con, something that maybe we don't even think of, C2E2, something like that? Do you have one you want to shoot that's on your bucket list?
So for now, because G-Fest is over, I think my ideal convention would actually be New York City Comic-Con. And that's... So, like, New York City Comic-Con is the one that announces usually anime, maybe, like, the tokusatsu stuff, if there's something worth announcing. Well, last year they had 3 Ultraman suit actors. Well... suited actors. They didn't actually ever show their faces. They didn't have the character that they represent there. It was just literally 3 Ultramen. And I did not know this until days before NYCC started. And then I saw a photo of one of the Ultramen at night in like the middle of the neon area of New York City.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like I would love to do this so bad. Because there's just nothing cooler than seeing that, you know, like the actual suited Ultraman just walking around, you know, amidst all these neon lights. It's like that's a set that you just can't make anywhere.
Yeah, New York City Comic-Con is definitely like on our list too. I think the problem is it's different from like San Diego or LA Comic-Con, which we have attended, where because we're gonna go with like 6-8 people, and you're not gonna find a 6 to 8 person Airbnb in the city for New York City Comic Con. So that leads you to, okay, I got to get a hotel, and then we got to fly into the right airport and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like so much of a hassle that it hasn't happened. It will one day. That, you know, we'll make it happen. Same thing with Chicago. Like, you can stay a little bit outside of the city, but like with New York, you know, we'd want to definitely do other things in the city. So it's like, where do we stay? You know, what are we going to do? How are we going to get there? So, Eric, that's definitely been the holdup with New York City Comic Con for sure.
Yeah, and I think I saw an email where like the rollover information, I had to do something or I
every year
lost it.
I get it every year, and I'm just like, well,
so,
not this year, NYCC.
I don't know. We're just getting steps further away. But to kind of bring it back home, you know, Kory, I think one of the cool things is getting to learn more about your story. You know, you kind of get to paint a picture when you meet somebody, and especially in this local community, I think it's really been great. The people that we've also interacted with, you mentioned Ryan, Justin, we're all friends of Botter. I'm just very curious from your point of view, how is that kind of like community-basedness in Jacksonville? What has been your perspective on it? How has it helped you? Because for us, we obviously owe a great deal to Botter, the Jax Podcasters United. But like you mentioned with GAM and the conventions locally that we've been a part of, there's just so many great things. So I'm kind of curious, what impacts you the most from like a local community standpoint what impacts you the most or what means the most to you from that aspect?
So I'll give you a comparison because it's like I can generalize it, but it really does represent all the people I know, from Botter to Ryan to the boys over at the Straight Chilling podcast, to like Bold City Longsword, so many places that I know in Jax. We moved to Tampa about 3 years ago, and like everywhere you go, there's all of their downtown, there's art everywhere. There's entire parking garages that are painted. And about, I think once a year, a lot of these places update their art. So you have rotating murals. It's everywhere. It's definitely not graffiti. It really is wall art. And there's so many different music venues that you can go to. There'll be like live music outside. Everything here is easy. It's just there. Like art is part and parcel with the Tampa area. And in Jacksonville, I was involved with all the same things, with the podcasting community, with DJ Mass Appeal, like doing the music stuff, because he was trying to kind of bring about more music producers in Jacksonville. You have Ryan, who's trying to make a bigger nerd scene in Jacksonville. And the Jacksonville community, the only reason anything is where it is because of blood, sweat, and tears. Because it is not the city agreeing with anyone. It's not the city trying to make anything happen. It's because someone would not stop. And, you know, the JPU, like, I just remember when Botter was only just the short box. And I remember, like, the vague murmurings of wanting to get involved with more podcasters in the community. And then one day JPU exists, and then one day it's kind of big. And now, you know, me being one of the people on the like outer end of it, so many people have left Jacksonville and gone somewhere else, but they're still very involved with the JPU because it's like, no, someone worked really hard for this. Like this wasn't, you know, it's not like, oh yeah, there's a McDonald's in Jacksonville and a McDonald's in Tampa and they're the exact same thing. No, you have this like home created thing that, again, blood, sweat, and tears went into, and years of their lives went into, versus something that's just manufactured somewhere else. And, you know, not knocking the art scene around here, it's great to have that available, but it was really cool in Jax where it's like, you had to know a guy. It's like, oh, you want to be part of the music scene. Oh yeah, DJ Mass Appeal has these beat battles once a month, and you know he performs at Rain Dogs, like Beats Brunch and Bubbly. Oh, you like horror? Hey, have you heard of the Straight Chilling podcast? Every now and then, like they took years and a few hundred episodes to start hosting podcasts in Sunray, which was the same as Shortbox. And it's like, I don't know. I'm always so proud to think of like where I've seen these people come from and what they've done. Just, and all of them basically started the same, behind a Yeti in like a shitty room and terrible audio quality that you literally cannot hear.
Okay, so you did
Kory
listen
went
to
way
our...
back into the went way back into the archive.
Exactly what I was thinking. He did listen to the earlier
We're literally
episodes.
sharing a blue Yeti that we got at a pawn shop. That's how this thing started.
God, we gotta go send you the deleted files that we definitely took down. Those are the ones where we cough and sniffle, and even when we were sick, we were like, editing, what's that?
No, don't need any. If Zencastr didn't put it together itself, it'd be like, well, the episode can't come out because we don't know how to edit. We can't do it. I don't know. I can't download these files individually and just manually do it myself. That is absurd. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, you make a good point. Like, and that goes to show you whenever they go to like Podfest in Denver and they talk about the JPU and people are like, how did you do this? You know what I mean? Other things when you were talking about other events here, Eric, we actually just met a couple of people at the Jax Creators meetup, right? And that's not even just podcasters. That's so many other things and so many other creators that we didn't even know existed in the city. One of the things, Kory, I don't know if you were around when this was going on. Remember Commentary down at I think it was down at 5 Points. It was a stand-up comedy and spoken word night down.
I have not heard of that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's so many different things going on. I don't know if it still goes on anymore, but like just the fact that something like that existed in Jacksonville was really cool. And, you know, and also coming from Dallas, where I mean, at the time I wasn't podcasting, so I don't know if there's like a community out there, but like all I could speak on is the stand-up comedy community, which is very relatively tight knit, but also still kind of like there's a lot of tribalism there, and there's a lot of tribalism here when it comes to stand-up in Jacksonville as well. But like when you see what they did, you know, between Ryan, between Blythe and Botter, and then the people again that also do the Jax Creators meetups, what they are doing is it's really unheard of. And you talk about it, like you said, in Tampa, Kory, like you're not really seeing anything like it. It's pretty crazy that it's working so well here and continues to grow. It really kind of puts things in perspective, like how lucky you are to have that kind of community. So
yeah,
we're
absolutely.
Definitely lucky.
Well, and like one other callback to, you know, a very recent interview with the Limit Breakers is, you know, they were very small, and not that they're, you know, big time just yet, but they performed live with Megaran. Like I was able to go to that concert in Winter Park, one of those two. And it's like, that dude's been performing for a while, and they were just up and like, or no, I think he was the one who reached out to them, was like, hey, can you,
that's what they said,
perform with me? And they offered to redo, I think, everything. I think there was only one pre-recorded track for that entire concert.
Limit Breakers are awesome, and it's a great callback because, again, there's so many like amazing people working at these events, working locally, getting to meet each other, and I just think that's super cool. Kory, the thing I kind of want to focus on with you is, you know, you talk so much about your podcast and a little bit about what kind of inspired that. I'm really curious, what are your kind of pop culture inspirations, both on the American and Japanese side? You mentioned the influences of both that came to you. Obviously, an example for me, like Phil knows, although my love for Star Wars has kind of whimpered a little bit, it's still in my veins. It's one of those core components. While I had a long time before I really understood my obsession into anime and got into that, Dragon Ball was always a early inspiration. I was obsessed with that as a kid. So I'm very curious, what are those major franchises or kind of pop culture things out there that really kind of added to your inspiration for what you do both in photography and in podcasting, and just the things that you like when you go down that rabbit hole on a YouTube video? What are those pop culture moments or franchises for you?
So the start of everything is always Godzilla. It's like, that was my childhood, watching the terrible American edit of Godzilla vs. Megalon. Is one of the most readily available VHSs, seeing a ton of the terrible like 60s and 70s Godzillas. But that's always the core of it, because Godzilla is real. If you've ever heard Steven Spielberg talk about Godzilla, he has a lot of like great things to say. That was his inspiration for Jurassic Park, because Godzilla is real. It's a dude in a suit, so there is something tangible there. The creature may not exist in our reality, but Godzilla is real. Everything they did was real. There's so much that goes like on behind the scenes on the photography, and I like to have that passion of like, how can I be, as creative as the people who were trying to make Godzilla so realistic? What kind of crazy stuff did they do? But there's so much history behind it. Like on the podcasting end, I got a book in 2011 or 2012. It was the revised edition of David Collat's A History and Filmography of Toho's Godzilla Franchise. And I read that, and that was the first time I ever really got behind the scenes stuff. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. Learning about the creators, that like, one of them was a prisoner of war. One of them essentially like had a fallout with his family because he didn't want to play traditional Japanese music, even though he had learned it. They were all kind of anti what the military was doing. They weren't really big fans of Japan going about and warring with people, which isn't something that you hear a whole lot of from that era. So they were rebels, and they made this monster movie about mankind's hubris. And it's like, how insane is that? You always watch Godzilla as like, oh, this is a fun movie, sure, like 1950s Japan, but not realizing that there was so much like heart and passion put behind it. So that kind of really opened me up to really like, I need to start looking more into some of this stuff. Another big thing, inspiration, Gundam. There's so much. I mean, Gundam is just nonstop war crimes. And I will say probably the only crime that Eric has really committed was never mentioning the war crimes in the Witch from Mercury episode. Because I did listen to that, and you're like, yeah, this is really, the animation's really good, and the story's pretty popping over here. And it's
I
like,
do not appreciate that impression. I only had 10 minutes.
Oh shit! What's he gonna?
it's like a 14
Corey's in his
minute...
bag. He's in his bag right now, but we don't know what he's gonna bring up. So I'm like low key kind of terrified. Like,
This
what?
is
Yeah,
literally
that's what you
like,
get.
I just spent the whole weekend getting like jabbed and surprised by Kendrick Lamar. I don't need you to add to that on this episode. I'm already in a panic. I'm already afraid.
And I listen to episodes, man. I've got ammo now. No, but yeah, just to see how much like passion goes into that. And for me, that's that second hit of like, a cartoon can have a much deeper meaning, and it's much more than that childhood lesson. You've got the He-Man and Thundercats and stuff like that in America, where it's essentially, do right, don't do wrong. That's Captain Planet. There's so many things. But there's, not everything is going to be like Batman, where Batman's a little bit darker. Like how do you do right in the face of adversity when, there really is like a gray area there? I don't know. I can't even really think too much of the American end. I loved a lot of like Planet of the Apes growing up. Again, kind of in line with Godzilla. It's people in suits, talking about some pretty important messages for most of those like OG movies. But I always do like the like magic on screen where people bring something to life, where the unreal can be real. And sometimes there is a genuine message, and sometimes there's not, and it's just, turn your brain off and watch it. But sometimes those movies had a reason to exist, and maybe the reason, one of the most powerful current franchises, Dune, 2 movies, couple of $1 billion in the bank. The 90s Dune movie was never supposed to be made by David Lynch. He got that gig like 6 to 9 months before that was supposed to be made. That movie is god awful, but it is so much fun to watch. But it's even cooler when you learn the history behind it, So that's like podcasting. I love a lot of that stuff. It's been so much fun over the years to learn where things come from, and sometimes why something that you're just like, yo, this sucks. And then you learn why it sucks. And then someday you go back and you're like, actually, you know what? I really like this. Hey, Cell was never supposed to exist, man. And honestly, Dragon Ball was supposed to stop after they found the Dragon Balls, like 16 episodes deep. So there's so many stories behind that franchise too.
Yeah, I love all of those. Corey, the one I noticed you didn't mention was The Shining. Any thoughts on that film at all? Because you were pretty mad when you learned.
First off, did he listen to the episode?
Great
Because
question.
if that happened,
I haven't
we're in
listened
trouble.
to it yet. Yeah,
Okay.
because I thought about it. Because again, I downloaded last week. I downloaded, I don't know, a dozen or more episodes. And when you put up that question, The Shining was one of the ones that I'd already downloaded. And I was about to add it to the queue, and I was like, nah, I'll wait. Like, I don't think I need that beef right now.
I'm just curious, what is it about The Shining that you enjoy so much? Because I think it tells a lot about a person, and so far you're not doing good.
when did you watch The Shining? When did you first see The Shining?
I think the first time I saw it was like early 20s.
Okay.
Maybe late teens on the cusp of turning 20.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a childhood thing. And I've seen it a few times since. there is some goofiness to it. I've also read The Shining. The book is mostly great up until it's not, which I think is fairly common for Stephen King. You're like, wow, this is a masterpiece, and then you reach a point and it's like,
What happened there?
yeah, it's like, you should stop. You could just not. No, yeah, the Shining is great, but so what was the cool thing with The Shining was the rig that they used to follow Danny. Like the visuals in that film are absolutely stunning. Again, a lot of practical effects. And I remember when I saw it when I was younger, I like seeing the book does it better because it's not 2 hours long. But you can see that clear shift of Jack becoming insane. And I think that's actually one of those times where I realize that I like things that are kind of more depressing, because it is very sad that this guy who's already down on his luck just goes absolutely insane because a hotel essentially possesses him. He already wasn't in a good place, and that left the door wide open for a possession.
Yeah, and I think, Phil, recapping the episode, we normally don't tell people, you don't have to listen to it, we'll recap it, but I feel like because we shit on it so much in that episode, the rundown is, the imagery's nice, it's good to look at, and Jack Nicholson, awesome. It's just the rest of that movie, and we did acknowledge that because we were late to the party, and we watched it so late into, when it was released to now, yeah, it just did not age well enough for us to enjoy it, but we both didn't expect to come in hating it and it being our benchmark for movies we dislike. So I apologize for that.
Well, because I think there was another episode. What was it when you did the scale?
Yep, that's
oh yeah,
yeah, like the best, the worst, in the
it's
middle.
RRR to The Shining. It's like almost the best to almost the worst.
And I will say
two different energies. As
yeah,
far as films
when you said like RRR, it's like, okay, like I'm not gonna fault you on that. Is a really damn good movie. And The Shining can be very divisive. The creation of it was very divisive. There was
the
definitely
whole thing is just a mess. Yeah. And to talk about where we recently met up, Kory, you and I at Spookala. I don't know if you've gone and watched the Dead Meat channel now that you've gotten to meet Chelsea and James, but they have a very good, speaking of YouTube rabbit holes, they have a very good kill count for The Shining, which does give me a better appreciation of the film because of how it was made, the things that you were talking about as far as like the rigs and everything like that. But then, obviously they dive into the terrible treatment of the people on set, and it's definitely a really good kill count. It's one of their, I think, highest viewed kill counts. It's got 9.5 million views. It was uploaded 4 years ago. So I don't know if you got a chance to check out their channel since meeting them at Spookala, but that's a good one to watch for sure.
I haven't, but because I'd totally forgotten what the channel was called.
Yeah.
That this Spookala was a lot, and it's one of those that, oh man,
a lot of guests, man. They had a lot of people there.
A lot of guests. I met a lot of people. A lot of people wanted photos. Like I don't ever give photos to like guests really. I did send a couple of you and your friends and fam. That's a totally different thing, but like people will ask me, hey, can you send photos of this? And it's like, I can't, these aren't my photos. And in my mind, the photos that I took of y'all are like you posing, or the one absolutely amazing photo I got of I apologize, who was the girl? Liz?
My daughter. That's my daughter, yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
The one where she didn't know you were taking her picture.
Yeah, that absolutely horrid expression on her face and stuff like that. I don't even send to the showrunner because it's like, no, this is my moment, and like this is my moment that I'm going to send to Phil.
No, it has become a meme within our group chat, so we appreciate you sending that because her face
you are
is just
welcome.
hilarious.
But yeah, no, Spookala was a lot, man. I took this is the most I think I've ever done at a 3-day event. I took 4,000 photos. Like a little more than, and I delivered around 1,500. So it's like the most I've ever taken, and I think percentage wise the most I've ever called because of how much was happening.
Yeah, Spookala was a blast. Definitely, I've talked about it here in the podcast. Definitely recommend it. Is it worth a 3-day visit? Probably not. I think you could probably do 2 and see quite a bit. 3 days was a lot, and the only reason we went 3 days is because we got into Tampa a little bit early. I got my Wayne Knight photo and autograph out of the way, so but a lot of fun. So that's coming back around again in October. So they do a couple of those a year. So yeah, Spicala was a good time. Eric, I would say it's worth a day trip if like the right guests were there for sure. I think this fall they're doing Tucker and Dale versus the Evil Dead is like the primary franchise. That movie is awesome, by the way. We should do that for an October Late to the Party, because it is a hilarious horror movie. So I talked about that I think last week.
It wouldn't be a bad choice at all. I think I was interested in Spookala, and then you mentioned how many days you were going. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no.
It's not gonna work.
3 days. That was a Falin thing. It was Scream, which is her franchise.
Of course,
so
yeah.
we went and hung out with her, and she had a blast. So it was a good time.
Yeah, and luckily, the days we're looking forward to coming up are only 2 days at Bold Matsuri in June. And Kory, I'm very curious, as you're getting prepared for this, I'm not sure, let us know if you've actually been to Bold, because it is a fairly new con here. We've obviously been here from the start, but whether or not it's your first Bold, what are you looking forward to at this one, especially in that potential capacity as a fan? And with the guest list that's lined up, I got a couple names I can rattle off as a reminder, but what are you kind of looking forward to at this next event here in Jacksonville?
So this will be my first Bold. I don't actually know when it started, and if I've been gone for like over 3 years.
What,
2021?
20, yeah, it was like right around the pandemic, right, Phil? Or right before?
Yeah, because our first one, I remember we had to wear masks, so
Yeah.
I think it was like 2021.
So maybe 2021?
Yeah.
Okay, so
This is
we
our
were
fourth
already
one.
gone by then. Fourth one, so then they might have had one in 20. Oh, this will be the fourth one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were already gone. So I'm pretty sure I have quite a few friends who've gone to it. I keep up with a lot of the Jacksonville conventions based on what like friends have said. So like may it rest at peace, I've still never been to a hall mat. And now that's done with. But we now have Bold Mat and Jax. This time, I don't know, I'm looking at the cast. I've seen a couple of these people before. And honestly, I don't generally get into the whole debate of like subs versus dubs. For the most part, I agree that it's a dumb conversation, other than sometimes when a character's personality is completely stripped from them. And like the American one is just wrong. Like as much as I have nostalgia for and in my own way love the American Goku, it's not Goku. That's not how Goku's written. It's not how Goku talks. Goku's an idiot, and he talks way too smart in English. So a lot of these people, I have never actually heard their voices. But what I do, sometimes that could actually be kind of why it's fun, is because I have no idea what these people sound like. But also because they're dubbing, you do get to hear a different side of the story. I have heard American voices, like American VAs at Infinity Con before, and I don't know, it's interesting to hear that inside baseball of like maybe when they learned if a character lived or died, and like bringing that into the recording studio with them. But it's always kind of fun because like some of them listen to the character in Japanese to kind of get, what do they sound like? Are they high pitched? Are they low pitched? Are they angry? Are they determined? As much as I love Christopher Sabat, I don't like his All Might. I feel like it's a little bit off. It's very Sabat and it's not very All Might. But it's not going to change the fact that like he's voiced some of my favorite heroes of all time, or villains, Vegeta. But no, I love hearing everyone's story. And while I do generally try not to come really in direct contact with anyone, because normally if I'm seeing someone, like it's behind the curtain, and I try not to involve myself with them, because they're taking a break. They've just spoken with 300 people, and they probably don't want to speak with one more. But every now and then I'll get, a quip in, or if I see, if they're reading a book or something, like I always love popping something out with them. But man, Boldmat only lists kind of what they're most known for, not everything that they've done. So I might have heard some of these people before.
Yeah, that happens a lot where like you'll go and look at their behind the actor studio or behind the voice actor page and be like, oh shit, they did this character, so you'll always find, and whenever we do our research and preparing for the conventions, I think they also very much appreciate when you recognize them for those smaller roles that maybe they're not as known for, and because that role made some sort of impact on you. So yeah, the guest list for Bold Matsuri is great. I am looking forward to meeting a lot of these people and seeing some people again, Eric, that were at in Ocala last year.
Yeah,
earlier in the year, I should say.
Yeah, no, we have a couple people coming back, like you mentioned, Kory, a couple familiar faces on the Jujutsu Kaisen end. Justin Briner is going to be huge. Hopefully, the caveat they need to get Sabbath here, I think that would be so cool. And it's very funny that you bring up that All Might thing, because I do love him as All Might, but I have learned very quickly as my love for anime has grown, like, Christopher Sabat's in everything as Christopher Sabat, and we just kind of accept it because he's so great at his job. But I know immediately, I'm like, there he is. That's him. I know the voice.
He's inescapable.
He's inescapable. From our lens, Kory, we have a really great experience, not only with the audience. A lot of people then come listen to our podcast. At the next show, they say how much they like our content or how much they're glad to see us again. That keeps us going and gets us really excited. And honestly, it kind of incites our fandom and continues to grow that flame. Phil brought up, the little things like bringing up characters that they're not known for, the voice actors, and you get to make a little connection. Brina Palencia was at one of the Ocala shows or one of the Jacksonville shows here, and she voices Chopper in One Piece, but she also voices a character, the main character in a small anime called Snow White and the Red Hair. And when I told her that my wife loved that show, she actually signed something for my wife, just for the simple fact that we brought it up and I told her she was a big fan. She met her, she said hello. She had to get ready for a flight.
She had a specific print for her,
that show.
Didn't she? Yeah.
So like that stuff gets me excited for the next show to keep doing it. It incites just a little bit here and there my love for anime and pop culture. All that to say, Kory, from the lens of the camera, what does that do for you, being on that side, getting to take the pictures of people at these conventions, and then getting to see the pictures afterwards? Like, what does that do for you, and what type of enjoyment do you get when you do that at these type of conventions? What's that kind of like feeling that you have? Do you have any emotional ties to those? You mentioned a little bit about Spookala, but just elsewhere, how has that kind of impacted you?
So, what I generally tell people, my favorite style of shooting is stalker. That's why you normally see the big lens out, not the small lens, because I like to be very far away. But the reason I do that is because I noticed over the years that the further away you can get, the more natural the interaction. And, as an official event photographer, it's super dope, depending on the setup. But you guys are familiar with the World Equestrian Center. And they have the covers back there. But I love also sometimes going back there and like sneaking the lens out in between the pole and the drop cloth to be able to get people acting naturally. And it's almost like an empathic, seeing that wonder in someone's eyes. There's plenty of stuff out there that I don't necessarily like. I'm not an anime gatekeeper. Even if there's something I don't like, there might be something that's a little bit better along the way, but it doesn't change the fact that there was always that magic as a kid. Like I remember when Dragon Ball Z first came out. I remember when, I would wake up, I think at like 7 a.m. on Saturdays to watch Visions of Escaflowne on the Spanish channel. I do not speak Spanish, but it was just so cool to be like, oh, I have no fucking idea what they're saying, but like whatever's happening right now is super cool. And I love capturing those moments with people. It's like you guys know good and well that a lot of these conventions are filled with teenagers, adolescents, and you know there are those occasional like super young kids that are there. And fortunately nowadays it's like we've all seen our terrible anime. You know, all the older people there have already seen a lot of crap. Like we already had to wade through stuff. So we get where these kids are coming from. And I don't know, I love capturing moments like that where you know, be it a little kid or a teenager or something who's getting to meet a VA and like that's their introduction. Maybe Demon Slayer's their introduction, Chainsaw Man's their introduction, and they get to see this person. Because what was it? I got to meet Justin Cook, who voiced Yusuke Urameshi from Yu Yu Hakusho, and that's one of those series that it's like that one you can and should watch in English. But it's such a great series, and that was one of the first series that it was like, oh, anime's like actually pretty good storytelling. It's not Dragon Ball Z, where it's just a lot of screaming and powering up. So seeing him, you know, I get that my own moment of like, oh my god, like this is Justin Cook, you know, this is Yusuke Urameshi. The only thing better would be beating Sabat, who did Kuwabara. But you know, even before I got to meet him, there's like this little kid who's just telling him something, like little kids do. Like little kid doesn't know who the hell he is, he's just telling him something, and Justin Cook's interacting with him. And to be present for that and to be able to capture that moment is great for me. It's like, no, this is cool that someone else gets to experience what I missed out on, you know, growing up when anime was weird, when like you're kind of the outcast and the only place that you could talk to other anime nerds was at like library clubs, and those people were fucking weird. So, you know, it's good to see that community. It really does always come down to capturing those moments. And again, just envisioning myself in their place, where it's like, God, look at the wonder in their eyes. Look at how happy they are to see this person. And a lot of the VAs on the other end of it, not just the attendees, but on the VAs, when someone hands them something, a piece of art, maybe it's a gift, maybe it's something that's like hyper unique, but to see their appreciation for this stuff, where they're like, oh my God, like I didn't even know this thing exists. You're like, wow, you know, they're just people. You know, they had a wonder at some point in time in their life too, and as a VA they probably still do. I'm sure they have to. So it's just cool that it's like, no, they're still normal people just like us. And then when you guys are up there interviewing them, that's always fun. I'm sure, you know, for someone like me, I would probably get tired of answering the same question over and over and over again. But still there's that magic where like you hear them talking about how it was that they got into this process. I distinctly remember, I say distinctly, I can't remember if it was Chainsaw Man or JJK, where someone had commented that like a lot of the VAs are very up to date on the manga, partially because they love it, partially because they want to see if they have a job in the next couple of months. And it's like, this stuff's so much fun. You know, it's just so neat to see these people being people, and to hear, again, just like this magic behind it. Anime for me, I guess, is Disney for people, you know, 50 years ago. You know, Disney just has existed. It's always been in the zeitgeist. Growing up as a kid, it's unavoidable. And then anime is like that new thing. So anime was anime is my Disney. I get to see that wonder. I'll be that dude. I knew a dude who was in his 80s or 90s that retired military, really serious dude, had Disney stuff in his house. Like if you'd ever met this guy, you'd be like, yo, this guy's a hard ass. And he was swick. He fought in some wars. He did some bad shit. And Disney everywhere. He fucking loved Mickey. Dude loved going to Disney World. And it's like, that's going to be me. I'm going to have like my Godzilla stuff up, and, you know, maybe a signed, Chris Sabat signed photo of Vegeta and Kuwabara at some point. You know, I hope to be like that years from now. And that's what the photos do for me. This also goes for the horror end of things. Y'all are in the anime side, so that's kind of why I'm on that. But horror, the same exact thing. There's nothing better than seeing like a friggin' 5-year-old with like a Jason mask on or covered in fake blood going to see a suit actor, for a movie that they should not be watching at that age. But we've all been there.
With anime too. That's with a lot of the anime too. We're like, why are you watching this?
Yeah.
Who's letting you watch that?
So extensive answer, but yeah, that's it is something I'm passionate about because I love others' passion for it, and that's what I love to capture. And I love looking at a photo and smiling because it's like, God, like this was someone's like highlight of maybe the next year of their life, or maybe they'll remember this till they die.
Yeah, and they'll comment on that too. Like you'll see it on Instagram or Facebook, wherever it is. Like, that's me in the whatever cosplay, there's me. They get excited when they see that. And one of the things I always tell people that are on the outside of this world that we are in, when they're like they've never been before, and I'm like, well, listen, like these conventions, these events, it is sometimes the only opportunity that a lot of these kids get to be themselves, and they also see friends that they haven't seen in the longest time. That's how we are now, Eric. We see Kory and we see our vendor friends. We see them a couple times a year. I compare it to like a high school or college reunion. Like, you get to be with everybody and hang out and go hang out at the convention, but also outside. So when they get the opportunity to be themselves and not have to worry about being judged, that's always the best. One thing that's great, Eric, and I'm sure you've noticed this too, because whenever we do like Collective Con or Ocala Comic Con, we're always posted up near the front. And you'll always hear people like, oh, I've never been to one of these before. And like, you just see that raw excitement in their face as soon as they come in. And that's always really great too. I love seeing that. That's definitely one of the best parts.
I think just one other quick kind of anecdotal thing, but one of my favorite things to see is like a little kid. There was a family dressed up as Demon Slayer. I want to say it was at Ocala Comic Con last year, but one of the ones in the Equestrian Center. They were all dressed up in Demon Slayer. And I remember talking to the parents because I took a photo of the family, and the parents had commented that like, we have no idea what this is. And I'm like, that's even more awesome that like this little kid's dressed up as Tanjiro, or like one of the main characters, and the parents are like, sure, let's do it. Why not support the kid?
Yeah, they're going to be really shocked when they turn on episode 1.
They watch it.
It's gonna be an interesting situation. But Kory, wonderful answers to a lot of questions that we had, and I know we were really excited to get our audience to know you and to get to know you a little bit ourselves, which will set us up really nicely to have a little bit of fun here as we get towards the end of the episode. And we
Fun
see,
for who?
Well, one of us is definitely going to have fun. Whether or not that's Phil is a great question. So what I'm going to do is kick us off with our first game. I kept these both as movie-based games, so let me go ahead here.
It's like 10 questions about The Shining.
I will tell you right now, none of these are The Shining.
Okay.
Because I only wanted to talk about that movie once, and we did it, so that's where we are. Let me go ahead and present our game. This is going to be movie taglines, and you guys should see my screen. So we'll go ahead here and play. The way we're going to play this game, each prompt for the movie tagline is going to show, and a blurred image clue is going to appear in the background. This is a speed game, so we're going to start it off pretty fast. Whoever answers it first gets the point. So feel free to be off mute, shout it out when you know it. I will read the tagline, but you can absolutely interrupt me if you know the answer. And again, an image in the background, blurred, will show. There's going to be 5 rounds here, so 5 movies, 5 taglines. The person with the most points at the end wins. It's pretty simple. So the real question is, are you guys ready to play?
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. We're going to jump into movie number 1, and the tagline reads, the terrifying motion picture from the terrifying #1 bestseller.
Is this it?
No.
What is that? Oh, I see why you said it as well. Yeah. The #1, the terrifying motion picture from the terrifying #1 bestseller. Is that Old Boy? Is there an Old Boy book?
Nope, no old boy.
Don't
No.
think so.
No.
Man, no.
What is that?
Not The Witch.
What is that?
Is it
What?
Life
Oh my
of
God.
Brian? Life of Brian based on the Bible?
No, no, that would have been a very
No, you're giving Eric
Monty
too much
Python's
credit.
Life of
None
Brian?
of these are
that would have been very interesting. No, I will say that
Saw.
no, not
Is there a
Saw.
Saw book?
I will say that the creature in the upper right corner, I probably should have shown more of, but I didn't want to give it away. But that
You
is
have a way of
creature.
like slightly moving
Barbarian.
Nope, it's too late. Nope. Nope.
it over. Already too late.
Can we have a clue? Okay, different clue. I guess a different clue.
This creature is in the ocean.
Oh, is it? No, that's not a book. Hold on.
What is that?
Is this?
yes, Deep Blue Sea, the #1 best-selling
Yes.
book.
That
Deep
is
Blue Sea.
that is the closest guess you're gonna get to without
I was
saying
gonna say
Meg?
Jaws or Sphere.
it is Jaws.
Oh, Jaws.
Very good.
Okay.
What scene is that? Are you going to show us the scene?
No, it's just an image of the shark.
God damn it. Oh, okay, okay.
No, just an image. That's it. It's a shark in the corner. Hey, listen, this is the first time we're playing this one, so feedback has been received.
Jaws.
All right,
Okay.
but listen, that's our first one, so it's obviously going very well. Movie number 2, the tagline reads, "You don't get to 500 million friends without making a few enemies."
Social Network.
Ooh, nice.
It is the
Yeah.
Social Network. Very good. All right. Movie number 3,
I remember that tagline.
the tagline reads, "It's our planet, it's their war."
Oh. What's our
War of
planet?
the
It's
Worlds?
No.
No, is this that future war movie with was that Pratt?
No, it's not the
Hold
Tomorrow
on.
World. Phil, the
Tomorrow-
Tomorrow World has come up twice
So
now.
random that's coming. I'm not watching
Come
Tomorrow
on.
World, Eric.
It
Don't
is
ask me.
So bad.
It's so bad it's good.
I'm not watching the
I
Tomorrow
don't
World.
know about that.
What is that? Is it one of the Planet of the Apes movies?
Looks. It's our
No.
planet. It's their war.
No.
That looks like a xenomorph, but I know it ain't. I feel like. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. It's AVP.
It is. It is Alien versus
Oh.
Predator. Very
Wow.
good.
What is that scene?
There we go.
In the background.
That's just them. That's just them, like staring. Like he's staring at him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought
that
it was
is
like a
xenomorph.
bridge.
Yeah.
See.
Xeno.
That's why I thought.
There we go.
That's why I thought Planet of the Apes because I saw the bridge.
All
I
right.
thought it was a bridge.
Honestly, not a bad guess. All right. Movie number 4. The tagline reads, "Grab life by the ball."
Oh, dodgeball.
Dodgeball. Shit.
All right. I'm gonna give you both that point. That is correct. It is Dodgeball, a true underdog story.
Oh,
All right.
man.
So with that one, we'll just call that a even tie, so that way we'll determine a winner here. All right, your future is in its hands. Movie number 5.
What's the Johnny Depp scissor movie?
No, Terminator 2. Is it T2?
I'm gonna give it to you because it is the Terminator.
The
but
Terminator.
no, not
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
It is Terminator. All right. See, that was really
I've never seen the Terminator films.
yeah, but I mean,
Oh,
if you
really?
look at it, look at his
Yeah.
eye. His eye's
Yeah.
pretty visible.
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah.
I see it now.
T800,
But I wouldn't have
right?
guessed it. They're about to do Terminator on the kill count, so maybe I'll watch it soon.
Phil, just stop it. Stop it. Okay, very good. That was our first game. That was very successful, I've got to say.
It's fun.
That was
3-2.
good.
I feel good.
That was good. All right. As per usual, Phil lost, but that's okay. Because we do have another game. In this game, Phil, you put together. We are going to do Guess That Movie off the Letterbox review.
Woo!
Oh my yes.
These Letterboxd reviews, for context, are less than a star on Letterbox.
Man.
I have
you
heard
know.
this game on
Now
one
you know.
episode. Yeah.
Now you know how all the the shit I have to get through to find these reviews.
Honestly,
There are
very
some
difficult.
interesting people on Letterboxd.
Very difficult. All right.
I was gonna say, if you ever need inspiration, what you should do, like for a different game, is a terrible movie, but read the 5-star reviews, because I've done that for books
that's a good idea.
sometimes.
That's such
And
a good
it's
idea.
like, what the fuck were you reading? Because it
We're gonna
wasn't the
present it
same
as our
book that
idea.
I read. You know, you could do
I
that
do
for
like
movies,
that.
I'm sure.
I do like that. For this one, to remind us, if you haven't seen this game before, this is Guess the Movie based on the review. Again, letterbox scores. I'm going to read the review, and both of you will get a chance to answer. This is really for bragging rights. Whoever has the most at the end wins, and it'll probably be Kory if there's a tie. So that's just how the game works. It's just how it works.
just how it works.
I don't make the rules.
Phil,
All
this
right.
is
You
your
do.
game, by the way.
Yeah,
First-
you kidnapped my baby. What are you doing?
All right, first movie. Somehow, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. The dialogue and the 4 subplots are all running at the same time. For some reason, the French are involved. There is a shot at the opening of the movie of some iguanas, and I dare to argue that's the best
I know what this
scene
is.
of the movie. For clarification, I'll let Kory go first, then Phil. This is going to be a specific movie, so if this movie has multiple iterations, I need to know which movie you're
It's
talking
Godzilla 98.
Yep.
about. It is Godzilla, 1998.
Why? Why the gum? It makes us look more American.
I heard the light bulb go off at the French. I was like, damn. I thought the iguanas was going to give it away. Okay.
Boy,
All right, our next movie.
what a movie.
Why was this movie edited like a PowerPoint
It's a
presentation?
great question.
Glad the pugs are normal in the future. They call me Dr. Worm. Good morning. How are you? I'm Dr. Worm. I'm interested in things. I'm not a real doctor, but I am a real worm. I am an actual worm. That sucked.
Oh my god.
This is an actual review of a movie. What movie?
Good morning. How are you? I'm
The pugs.
in the future. Ooh.
What?
It's not Men in
Was-
Black, but like that was my first thing. But I'm just gonna say, I think someone tapped speech to text accidentally with the whole "they call me Dr. Worm."
It has to.
I will tell you that
Pugs in the future.
Dr. Worm is more important than pugs if you haven't seen the movie.
That's so terrible.
Men in Black is a good answer. But those are roaches, though, not worms.
Well, and it's not in the future. I don't think any of them
that's
were.
true.
Dr.
Dune?
Worm? No way. Are there pugs in?
How
Well,
could
you
it
did say they didn't matter.
Yeah.
Phil,
Maybe they meant to say pigs?
Phil, locking in your answer with what Dune?
Shit. 2.
No
Okay,
fucking
so
way.
Dune Part 2. Kory, you going the Men in Black route? You
Sadly,
going-
I think this might be David Lynch's Dune, because I think he has a point. I think he's on to something.
Oh, the OG Dune. I
It
didn't
is
even think
so
about that.
funny that this came up naturally in conversation because I pre-made this game. It is the 1984
1984.
version
1984, dude.
of
Because
Dune. There's
yeah,
a
I
pug.
was like,
Oh, there's a pug in
There
Dune
is,
1984,
yeah.
Dune?
Because
That's
as
so
soon as you
random.
said Dune, I was like, God damn it! I think there is a pug in there. Like, I hope he doesn't guess the original.
This worked,
So funny.
Yeah.
This worked exactly the way I hoped it did. All right, so Kory up
So-
2-1.
Oh, actually, real quick, a little bit of trivia. Paul Atreides, that actor right there, is the dad in Fallout.
In Fallout, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
He's so good. He's so good. I think he forgets that. He tries to forget he was ever in that movie.
Yeah, I think. Oh my God, Patrick Stewart does too.
Patrick Stewart is in the original Dune?
Sting is in the original Dune.
Oh, yeah, I
All
do know.
of
I do
Sting.
somehow know that.
Oh, Sting.
Oh.
All right, let's get to our next film. Awful and boring in every way. My first experience with this film was being at my rich friend's house, and we usually played Xbox there. But he wanted to watch the movie, and we sat there waiting for a gorilla to show up, and he never did before I left. Watching the full movie later made it
Before
even
I
worse. That friend is now a drug dealer, by the way.
Waiting for
All right, I'm.
a gorilla to show up. Okay,
It's
which one of
Peter
these?
Jackson's King Kong.
I was just thinking that.
Are you both locking that in?
Let me read it again. Awful and boring every way. a rich friend's house, and we usually play. The Xbox detail is so random.
Yeah, I love that.
I am also, I think Peter Jackson, because he doesn't show up. They would have had to leave before the natives scene, which is possible.
It is lengthy, yeah.
Yeah. I'm also locking in Peter Jackson's King Kong.
You guys would be right. It's Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Great video game, by the way. The King Kong Xbox game and PS2 game, very good.
I've heard.
Better than the movie, probably.
The movie does get shit on a lot. It's not a bad movie. It's just,
It's a movie.
Just like the current MonsterVerse.
It sure is the movie of all time.
Well, what we're not going to do is talk about the MonsterVerse.
That's fine. All right.
Second most successful cinematic universe in film history.
Okay, well, that's not saying much, but okay, that's fine. Our next movie, what could have been a fun swashbuckling sequel to arguably one of the most iconic adventure films ever, is instead punctuated by some very poor dialogue, ropey CGI, an annoying kid who can't seem to stop using cringe Americanisms, and the complete watering down of a female character into someone who says, "Oh my god," a lot, and then dies. Cool.
Swashbuckling sequel.
No, ropey CGI. That throws that out.
A female character says, "Oh my god," a lot, and then dies?
Cool.
Cool. Swashbuckling. I'm tied up on swashbuckling as well.
Iconic adventure films.
I can't think of a female character that just dies in the sequel, though.
Okay, I think I know.
You think you know? Phil, are you gonna lock in a guess here?
Oh no, there's still no CGI. Man, I keep thinking of things that could definitely fit, but there's no CGI in them.
Kid. A complete watering down of a female character.
This is so funny, Phil, that this is the one that's stumping you the most.
Great.
This is so funny.
I'm like looking around my room. It says, "Oh my god," a lot and die.
I will say swashbuckling is not an exact accurate quote here to use.
Okay.
Everything else is pretty on point. Swashbuckling can be misleading. But I understand why they said it in a way.
I'm lost here.
All right. I'm going to make you put out a guess then. What's your guess?
Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Okay. Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Kory? What's your gut telling you?
Man, so my gut
we
is
already had a
telling
Godzilla
me
movie. Shit.
I forgot about that.
I'm thinking it's an Indiana Jones movie. And
Is there one you're going to pick?
oh man, if there's a kid who can't seem to stop using cringe Americanisms, there's no CGI. Okay, I'm just gonna say not Temple of Doom, because everything except the CGI fits Temple of Doom, but Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Indiana Jones is such a great guess, considering that this franchise is sometimes a reminder of that one. It's The Mummy Returns.
Oh shit!
Oh.
Phil,
close.
we just talked about our love for The Mummy Returns. It was very hard to hear you struggle with this one. That one was
tough.
That one was tough. That one was tough. I'll give it
Whatever.
to you.
The Mummy Returns is fantastic. I don't know who that person is.
agree.
I'm gonna go look them up. Actually.
Dox them right now.
Yeah, right now.
All right, here's the last one. I think Phil, you can only tie at this point, but we'll give it a try. So
It's all right.
Our last movie. I really hate this film, not just because of how bad it is, but also because it damaged the franchise for a while, until the new trilogy brought the franchise back to new heights. The two biggest criticisms I have with it are the very bad acting and the terrible plot. It also has one of the worst final acts and endings I've ever seen in a film.
That could be anything.
I will say this one.
There's so many franchises.
This one may be the hardest one, but it's freaking hilarious because it fits this episode very well.
Okay, there's a franchise.
Damaged the franchise for a while until there was a new trilogy, so that limits it. New trilogy. One of the worst final acts and endings I've seen in a film.
It's so generic, but I'm trying to think of the, like, is this a very recent review, or is this like a little bit, a couple of years ago? Probably maybe pre-pandemic.
I would say it's pre-pandemic. I believe. I don't believe this was a recent review.
This is going to be like.
I don't think it's really spoilers to
film.
say, but because there's been a new trilogy, this will kind of let you know this is a older movie, so this isn't like a recent movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess. I can't remember the exact name of it, but the original Planet of the Apes 4.
Do you know the year it came out or who stars in that one?
God. Well, I know probably the other thing that I know would be the synopsis. That's the one where they're worshiping a nuclear bomb. Because by then Heston was already gone. I don't remember any of the actors in that one.
Okay. Film?
Jurassic Park 3. Just because I can't think. First off, I don't know the name of all the Star Wars movies, so I wouldn't be able to give you the name of a Star Wars film. And I'm trying to think of other trilogies, like newer trilogies. No, that wouldn't be it.
Because I asked about how old the review was, because there was only a trilogy of new Planet of the Apes movies just a couple of years ago. I think now we're on 4 or 5.
Yeah, the one about to come out.
So I think you're talking about. Are you talking about Beneath the Planet of the Apes? Is that it's
Probably.
like back in the 70s? Okay.
Like, oh god, yeah, 70s.
Okay. So pretty far out there. I was curious because you're so fucking close. It is 2001's The Planet of the Apes.
It really is. So this one's so bad, even though the new. Okay, I guess it's how I was.
Is that the Wahlberg Planet of the Apes?
It is the Wahlberg. The
Tim Burton one.
The Abraham Lincoln at the end.
Damn it!
Yeah.
I should have guessed that. Yeah. I've never even seen that, but
that's why I asked, because I was like, maybe he's trying. And then when you said the synopsis, I was like, no, that's not the one I know.
Yeah, that's. Oh man, it's so funny that I was so close and yet so far. I've never actually seen that one because
I've never seen it either.
Honestly, not bad at the time. I'm sure going back to watch it, it'd be a terrible experience. But I remember enjoying that when I was younger. But I can admit like Paul Giamatti is good, but he's like creepy. The ape is trying to make love to Mark Wahlberg the whole movie, and then again, Abraham Lincoln. You can't beat that.
Abraham Lincoln.
It's tough, but yeah, good job.
Peak early 2000s cinema.
Great job, Kory. I felt like that was a pretty fair 2 games, and you won both, so nothing really changed here.
Exactly.
But,
hey, I did nail the alternate swashbuckling. I was at least close, and I was only one movie off because I have put the 2001 Planet of the Apes out of my mind.
Yeah, you almost had a clean sweep. Honestly, you were very close. But those are my games. That is pretty much a nail in the coffin for Phil. I think he's just
once again
never gonna win them. Never gonna win them, Phil.
It's cool. I run games too. It's fine. A couple weeks.
You do Jeopardy, and I do bad at those.
I know, but I can switch it up. We'll see.
Stop. Oh my god. All right. Well, Kory, this has been a blast. So much fun to be able to do this with you. Phil, anything else before we kind of wrap everything up? We give Kory a chance to kind of plug his stuff. Everything will be in the show notes, of course. But any last words before we start wrapping up?
No, just Kory, it's great to see you, and excited to see you here in a couple of months and hang out with you. And yeah, we appreciate you taking the time. So please let everybody know, all of our audience know, where they can find all of your work and anything else you'd like to plug.
Yeah, so for the podcast end, you can search The World is My Burrito into the podcatcher. For social media, search Twimby Podcast. That's TWIMB Podcast. For photo stuff, search like the letters. They'll have the link in the show notes, but the letters you want to search are KTORJ. That should pop up K Torjussen Photography. And that's where you can find like all the stuff that I work on. I actually should probably start updating which events I'm going to be attending, so that I can like look forward to seeing people. But yeah, I'll be at Bold Mat. I'm doing, I think there's going to be another Ocala Comic Con this year. Pretty sure. And Spookala in October. So I know for sure those are the next 3 like big things that I'm going to be doing.
There you go. And as mentioned, everything will be in the show notes of this episode. So again, Kory, can't wait to see you here in the next couple of weeks or so. For those of you that are looking for not only Kory stuff, but also all of our important links, you can find it in the Linktree link in the show notes of this episode. Follow us on social media, the most important ones being Instagram, TikTok, as well as our growing Discord page. You can also support the show a couple other ways. Leave the Wait For It podcast, as well as The World Is My Burrito, 5 stars on any podcasting site that you possibly can. Helps with the algorithm, helps with all of that stuff. We would very much appreciate it. Also, share the episode. Tag us, let us know that you're listening, let other people know that you're listening. All of that goes such a very, very long way. But if you find yourself wanting to support the show maybe a little bit extra and join a very special community, Eric will let you know how you can do that.
Now, of course, there's all the free options. Your Discord, Phil's using Twitch now all of a sudden. We're on TikTok. We're all over the place.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to plug the Twitch.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
It's new.
Listen, and honestly, for how much I've got to cover up for Phil, and I've got to really just handle the load as the co-host, your support would be truly appreciated, whether that's directly through our Buzzsprout page, or you can get something in return if you join our Patreon, where patrons like Stefan and Breyer are supporting the show and getting access to behind the scenes and early access to episodes like this one. But with that being said, you've reached the end of this episode. Before you play the next episode, just remember to check out everything that Kory's got going on at The World Is My Burrito. My name is Mr. Eric Almighty. That is my co-host, Phil the Filipino, and our guest, Kory. Please remember we release new episodes for this podcast every Wednesday with bonus content on platforms like TikTok. And all you got to do is wait for it.
So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment.
Wait for it.
Gaming?
Wait for it.
Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.